But while I was watching, I was like, you know what? I should go to Bangladesh. And just like that, so I paused the movie. I text him. I'm like, hey, yeah, I want to go to Bangladesh. And he was like, what? Yeah, for real? Okay. Yeah. I was like, yeah. And he was like, I'm about to buy the ticket. Are you sure? I was like, yeah, do it. So that's what happened. And in the trip, we were like, discussing how I did it, and I just went. I didn't think about it. I just went. And we were like, put it in contrast when we make other decisions, how we think about it, how we measure it, and how we put so many things. And when we do some other things, we don't do that. But when it is related to mission trips, we like to, voy a orar, and we make the whole thing bigger than what it should be. And the phrase was just coming out like in our conversation, they just go. So just go. And eventually, that became our brand.
I think the first steps were coming up with the name of the ministry. And like Chris said, this idea of just go just kept coming over and over again. And then we had this idea where we wanted the T to be tilting, which I don't think it appears now on the logo. But the idea of movement, moving towards the cross. And the red that symbolizes the blood of Christ, which he redeems us, and to show that the gospel around the world. So if you notice, the logo has 4 color schemes in it. And the notion when we did it was that you have to go across the ocean to arrive to a desert, go through a mountain to eventually get to the fertile or the area where we're going to be preaching the gospel. And that in essence was Bangladesh. That in essence has been Egypt. That in essence has been El Salvador, where we have to go through trials and tribulations and barriers, some physical, some spiritual, some economic, to take the gospel to the ends of the world. So the other idea was what would be the phrase that would be utilized to kind of like bring everything together. And we were playing around with different concepts and different ideas. And then I wrote it down, be obedient, walk by faith, and just go. And I gave it to Chris, and he's like, that's it. And it's very important for us. There are 3 steps when we think about going on missions or being part of Just Go. Number 1 is the obedience to God and His Word that we have to preach. We have to take the gospel to the ends of the world, to all nations and all languages. We have to walk by faith, meaning that we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know the circumstances we're going to face. In many cases, we don't have the money. We don't know what challenges might be there, but by faith we're going. And the last step is just go and go to the ends of the world to take His gospel.
Well, I think that as a team it's important because everybody brings a different skill set. Like for instance, Ron and Chris, they have like a lot of connections that they bring to these events when it comes to missionary trips. And then, some of us, whether it's spreading invitations or it's dealing with like the sales of shirts and whatnot, or creating advertisement, I think every part comes together for the bigger purpose of spreading the word of God in different countries. So I think one person might not be able to handle all that, but being able to be part of a team, it's like everybody brings what they can to the table, and that's why everything just flows more smoothly when everybody can just work together for that one common goal.
It was that you can plan something, but it might not always go the way you have it planned, because God has something different for every mission trip, right? So you just have to work through everything and then have faith that God has a plan for you being there, and just working together, relying on each other and the team that you're with.
I mean, if the missionary tells, okay, you have to preach, we preach. If they say you have to work with kids, we work with kids. If you say, okay, you have to, get water from the river and you have to fill this well. God bless us. God bless us. We have to do that. So we depend a lot on them because they're the ones that know. We're not going to stand in the middle there and we're going to just start preaching. We don't know what's happening. So, for example, when we went to Bangladesh, they told us you cannot preach in the name of Jesus, right? They're going to kill you if you say you're Christians. So we have to face that thing. So when they go to El Salvador, they have to follow the directions that they're giving and, just not do whatever. So it's not like we are this it's not like we're taking God there. That's another thing. It's not that we're taking God there. God is taking us. So we have to, be mindful that God is already working there. Yeah. So it's like we think like you open your backpack and you're like, okay, this is God. That's not how it works. To do these things, so we enter into that mentality. Even most of us are students, struggling with life.
Right.
But I think we're stepping in faith and moving into this direction and changing this mentality and getting people to jump into this. So when you come into this group or this type of mission trip, we're not gonna be doing much, let's say, because it's, even though our trip is different than what we have done before, because it's really hard to do something in 2 weeks, for example.
Yeah.
We don't know the culture, we don't know the language, we don't know what we're supposed to do,